guys, and welcome back to my channel. So this is a super late plan with me, and it's what I consider a plan with me-ish, because I've actually already set up March in both my Projo and my bullet journal. I just didn't have time with moving and everything, so I wanted to give you guys a look at how February went and how I've set up for March, but it's just not going to be your normal plan with me. So let's dive in. So first, let's take a look at how February went. I'm going to show you in my bullet journal first, and then I'll show you in my Projo, both for February, and then we'll go into March. So, intro page as normal. So I was able to do a fair amount in February, even sort of taking into account the fact that I was essentially sick for this entire week. It is what it is. So you'll see that I have my February log all filled in. Same as always, I've color coded a couple of things, but most everything is either in block letters if it was some sort of an appointment, and cursive if it was some sort of note after the fact. I have my tasks. So I actually did start watching the Skillshare class, so I can do like one line through there, but I didn't end up getting my January pay stub, so I actually couldn't deal with this. It's gonna have to be in March. And yeah, I haven't yet done either of these. And I did change over my internet, but I can't upgrade it yet to fiber. They just like, it's not in my building yet, I guess. So I actually couldn't do anything with that. So overall pretty good. Definitely could have gotten more done in February, but you know, it is what it is. Sometimes stuff happens. Then I've got my tracker. Let's move this out of the way. So my tracker overall, not too bad. You will notice that not as much happened here and here. I wasn't feeling well, but you know, that's the way it goes. I have not yet done my review. I still need to do that. I'm gonna hopefully sit down and do that a little bit later today if I have some time, just to kind of look over how things went. I will say in general, things went fairly well. I am going to make some changes to my tracker based on things I noticed this month. So you'll see that when I set up, or when I show you March. I did get through 4 books, which one shy of my goal, but still not too bad. Just kind of trucking along. I've got gratitude, and I had a bunch of space left because obviously only 28 days in February, so I used less, and so I just wrote a little thank you in the bottom just to sort of close it out. I do still need to deal with my brain dump. I have done none of this. Actually, have I? Nope, I have not done any of this stuff. And I have set up a brain dump page for March, but I'm not exactly sure how I'm gonna do this. Yeah, I need to still deal with this one, basically. Then we get into weeklies and dailies. So for the first week of February, I did actually do a weekly, and you'll notice that I don't have very much in here at all. And that's because I've been using my Projo, and you'll see how this kind of has changed. But basically, this first week, I just did my normal quick header, any tasks, and then at the end of the day or the next morning, I would journal about the day. And then at the end of the week, I decided that having a weekly was no longer really practical, since I have a weekly that I use in my Projo, and I've also been doing digital time blocking, which if you guys saw my last goal setting video, I talked about that a little bit more. So if you're curious, I will link a card up there for you guys. So I just wrote a little and now for something completely different. And my next week, I didn't do a weekly, which was kind of weird at first, but I'm really enjoying it. It saves me time because I don't have to set up 2 weeklies when I really only need the one kind of thing. So it's actually been working out pretty well, but the rest of it is going as normal. Just, ooh, got a pen mark right there, don't know what happened. Anyway, but same setup, header, tasks, and then journaling at the end of the day or the next day. This week was the week that I was sick, and you'll notice I had a couple of little tasks each day, but some I barely journaled anything because I essentially was just like in bed or watching TV the entire day. So I had a little extra space here. I don't know why I didn't just do Tuesday down here. I have no idea, but I just wrote in rest and recuperate and then just kind of filled it in as I could. And then this was where I had a lot of stuff going on before I went back to work. I didn't actually want to journal any more than this, so I just did home sweet home here because it was also kind of the first big batch cooking day in the new apartment and like really getting back into sort of normal life, but in a new home. So I thought that was a nice fitting little thing to write there. And so one thing you might notice is that between my weeks, I switch. So I use my 2 color code color, or my color scheme colors for February. So here I've got the date and the week, and so orange and green, and here I switch date and green, week and orange, and then whatever I do for the week, I do the opposite for the headers. And that's just to give me a little bit of change. It really doesn't change anything visually, I don't think, just because it's the same two colors, but I do make that like little change every week, essentially. So we are now up to this week, and you might notice that I'm filling in my boxes a little bit differently. Took me a while. I wanted to do it back here, and you can see I started right here. This is actually something that when I was in Paris for the bullet journal meetup, I was looking at Claire's Projo, and she has a slightly different system, which actually I wrote down really quick. So I wrote down kind of a little cheat sheet for myself. So basically, one line through means you've done maybe up to 30%. Coloring in the bottom half means you've done 50%, coloring in everything means 100%, and then a little arrow inside the box means it's been migrated. And I periodically will just change up how I do my boxes. So, you know, I used to do hand-drawn boxes, now I've been using a stencil. I used to do just dots, like I change it up periodically. So I was just kind of ready for a change. So I decided to sort of adopt rather her system, and I like the look of it. So we'll see how long I end up doing this. I might end up going back to my normal way of X's, but in some ways it's a little bit clearer to see because I can see very quickly where I am, whereas before when I had all of my like X's through, sometimes it looks a little bit messy and it's not always easy to see which ones have like one slash through and which ones are the arrow or whatever. So we'll see, just minor detail, but something I'm trying. And I still need to, so I'm actually filming on Friday, March 1st, but I still need to do my journaling for Thursday. I just have a lot of videos I want to film just to kind of get back into the swing of things, so I decided to hold off on this. I'll do this a little bit later. And you'll notice that I have changed the color of my header for March. So this is gonna get into what my March colors are, but basically I knew I would, you know, take Friday up through here, and so I had to do a full spread since I like to start my intro pages on a full spread. I don't like to do sort of a halfway point. So even though I only have Saturday and Sunday, I will also probably have like cooking or other things, or I'll just do lettering or a collection or something. So I have a full spread even though I probably don't need all of it. And then it goes right into March. So before we get into March, let me show you February in my Projo. So in my Projo, here we go. We've got, whoops, we keep a little stencil up here, but he likes to fall a little bit. So you'll see I've got my index filled in. I actually just went through and started filling out for March. So you guys have seen all of this stuff. You'll notice I've got a couple more things crossed off because I actually did move. So that big goal for 2019 is done. I have a couple of administrative things left, like changing my address with like the government or whatever, but overall I moved, like it's done. So still working on some of this stuff. So let's just jump in to February. So February is, oops, I have one thing that I haven't actually filled in. I did meditate last night. There we go. Now February is mostly done. So you'll notice that I did add in this AM and PM meditation, which that's going to change in March. I just didn't have room on my February tracker, but I did want to kind of keep track of it. I've been using the app Oak, which is really nice. It's super simple, and it like gives you like how many days in a row you've been meditating, or you've done like their like breathing exercises or whatever. And I really like it. I was looking at some other apps and they were just either too expensive or just like too much information for somebody who's just starting out with meditation. So this is, I've been using just the one app basically, but I wanted to sort of have a record here if I actually, you know, maintained my streak essentially. So then over here, usually in brown ink, I will write sort of appointments that I know about, and then anything else is in black. A lot of times I just end up writing everything in black ink because that's the first pen I grab. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, pretty straightforward here for my monthly log. You can see over here I have my key projects. So I did finish watching the entire font making class, and I started doing an Illustrator class. I've been going back and forth between whether or not I'm going to do Sketch or Illustrator, and I finally decided that I would do Illustrator. And I wanted to write the letters for my first font, but that didn't actually happen. Administrative stuff. These 3 actually were all based on whether or not I got my January pay stub, and I still don't have it, so I still couldn't do it. I did, however, go to my ear, nose, and throat doctor, which is great. I have a bunch of stuff that I did for YouTube. I was not able to film my plan with me, as you guys know. I'm doing it a little bit late. And I wanted to update a page on my website, and I just didn't get a chance to do that. But everything that I did for moving, I actually did get done. And you can see I actually started out doing my normal like cross off, and then part of the way through I was like, I'm gonna try the new way. So it's a little bit messy, but whatever. Then I've got my work related stuff. So I have for grading, lesson prep, so I have to plan the final project or when I have to plan the next unit. And again, you'll see I have kind of a split between my old style of crossing off the boxes and the new style. Yeah, I just kind of made the switch over and just kind of left it. So you can see here, everything has been migrated. The grading has all been migrated too. I just didn't actually draw the arrows in it, I didn't feel like it. So this has actually all been taken care of. You can see I got through a fair amount of stuff, but not everything. So I will continue working on this in March. And I do still have to do my monthly reflection. Again, I'm probably gonna sit down a little bit later today and work on that. But I already, I sort of have mentally done the reflection, so I was able to start setting up March because I do know where I am in my projects and that kind of stuff. So you'll see that when I show you guys March in a minute. So let's jump over to weeklies. So hold on a second, I have to find the beginning of February. So here was the end of January. I might have shown you guys this already, I don't even remember. So basically the first full week in February is over here. And you can see that I actually got a lot done. I have a couple of things that got migrated over here, but all of this was finished, all of this was finished. So the way that I've been kind of doing this is I usually have one of my key projects for the week is usually work-related stuff. At least it has been, just because grades were due right after the holidays. One of them is sort of like social media, which usually means YouTube. And then I tried to do one of them as my passion project. So that's my font making class and also studying Talk to Me in Korean lessons. So for a lot of the weeks, you're gonna see this, and then anything else that comes up. So like I had a bunch of stuff to do for my apartment, more apartment stuff. So anything else that kind of came up, I would add over here, but that was kind of how I chose my projects. A little bit later, I think the following week, I do have more with apartment related stuff because that was kind of the priority that week. And then I've been filling out my time blocking. So I do my time blocking on my Google Calendar, which I actually just kind of leave open. And a lot of times in the morning, I just open up my laptop and I just leave it open to my calendar so I can add things and adjust as I go. Because that way I don't have as much like erasing and moving around to do. I can just sort of drag and drop if I need to move it. And then at the end of the day, or sometimes like 2 days later, I'll go back to my calendar and fill in here. I will, however, put in any appointments and stuff, which you'll see. So let's go ahead and look at the next one. So any like appointments I know about, I will put in here so that I just have that time blocked out, but I kind of fill in the details a little bit later, but I use this part really heavily in helping me plan me plan out my week. So here you'll see there's move and apartment. So both of these were related to the move kind of thing. And then I wanted to work on font making stuff. I actually didn't end up having as much time as I thought I would in the morning just because moving took up so much time. So I missed 2 days here, but it is what it is. And you can see here I was on holiday, so I had less work-related stuff. I had already done a ton of apartment stuff, so I was able to, I didn't have as much to go in here. I started planning out my first font, so I had hoped to do it that week, but I just didn't get a chance to do it. And as you can see, so this was kind of where I started. I had written things in pen that ended up changing, and so it just kind of was a little bit messy, but at least it gives me a good idea of sort of how I used my time during these weeks. And it's color coded in my Google Calendar, so if I look back there, I can see like even more clearly how I used my time. I just don't want to, this is a very like minimal setup for me, and so I only alternate between essentially pencil, brown ink, and black ink, and that's it. And you can see a lot of times I basically just use black ink. So in the beginning of the week when I set everything up, that stuff usually goes in brown. Anything else during the week goes in pencil, and then after I'm going back through to like fill it in, that's when I'll do it in black ink. So I try and keep it a little bit more simple, but it still has some sort of a logic for me. This was the second week of the holidays, and I had planned to do work stuff, art times, and apartment stuff, and unfortunately I did none of the art things. I did a fair amount of the apartment stuff and the work stuff, but again, I was sick, so you can see here, I was sick day. Like, I just didn't have as much time during the week as I would have if I hadn't gotten sick, so that's why a lot more stuff is being migrated. And now we're up to this week. So you can kind of see here that I have things filled out here, but for example, the rest of today, I haven't actually filmed. Like I haven't filled out. I knew I wanted to film today, and actually I need to adjust this because I ended up starting to film earlier than I had originally planned. So that's why I've been kind of migrating more towards doing it on the digital side. And then this is very open until I figure out what I'm actually gonna do. So you can see I've gotten a couple of things started. I have some stuff that I really need to work on, but it's gonna have to wait till this afternoon or this weekend, and yeah. So I haven't yet really set up this first week in March, but let's go ahead and take a look first at the pre-planning I did for March, because I actually did. I actually almost forgot that I had done it, and then was flipping back through my end book and was like, oh yeah, I had already done this, yay. So let's take a look. I have to find it. So here. This is what I had kind of pre-planned for March, and I knew that I wanted to add some stuff to my tracker, so I kind of laid out everything I wanted on my tracker in here, and you'll see that it's definitely kind of it's been a little bit adapted and adjusted. I'll show you guys on the actual tracker. I think it'll be easier to see. And then I just had my main layout, so intro and quote, monthly and tasks, tracker and read, gratitude and brain dump. I have my color scheme, so I actually posted on Instagram, and I had a couple of people give in suggestions. So I had one, Pete Winterburn, he actually suggested navy and gold, and I was like, ooh, I like that, but I don't have any gold pens. However, navy and copper are Ravenclaw colors, so let's do navy and copper. So that's my color scheme for March, and then my quote is, spring is the time of plans and projects, and I actually should check, but I'm pretty sure I've done this quote before for like a spring something or other. Like it's really familiar. I feel like I've used it before, but oh well, I like it. I am once again going to do no weeklies, and then this bottom section here is all for my Projo. So I had filled out certain things that I wanted to do, but I basically just kept the like main categories, and then I just filled it directly into my March monthly in my Projo rather than just recopying it here, because I hadn't already done it, so there's no point in writing it twice. So this was my pre-planning that I did, and here I'm going to take a look in my bullet journal. So as you can see, I've got my intro page right here. I honestly just kind of eyeballed everything. It came out fairly centered, which I'm pretty pleased about, but I honestly set this up last night in maybe, I don't know, 20 minutes. So I just kind of was like, let's go, let's get it done. I need to do other things. So this was a very quick setup, all things considered. There were no rulers were used in the setting up of these spreads. So we've got monthly and tasks. I did make the decision, because this blue is actually my color code color for work, I was like, that's gonna get a little bit visually confusing. So I ended up just using my gray UNIBALL SIGNO pen to write in my work hours, just to kind of have it down. And then anything that fills in after, I'm gonna do in a black pen. So I've actually pulled out the same brand. It's the same point size. It's a 0.38, but I just have the black version of this pen. So this is what I'm planning to use for gratitude, for my tracker, and for filling out my log, or whatever pen I end up using to fill this out. Tasks, because I still need to kind of sit down and look at my brain dump from last month, I need to look through the tasks I didn't do from last month. I just haven't actually set this up yet. It's gonna happen soon. Also, I just have to note, my new apartment, I'm right across from the courts, and there are offices that obviously there are people that work there, and I just looked up and there was this woman standing in the office, like staring in, watching me film, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is super awkward. Anyway, side note. So let's move on to tracker. You can see I didn't even do fancy lettering. I really was just kind of trying to get this set up because I am kind of running a little bit behind, but I have taken off the month level line, and everything is either a week level or a daily. So what I've done is for certain things on the week level, because they sometimes happen every other week, sometimes I want them to happen every week, I went ahead and I used my stencil and a pencil and marked in when I wanted to do these things. We will see how much I actually respect my pre-planning, but that's kind of the goal. So you can see here that, you know, I want to change my sheets every other week, and I want to clean the apartment every week, and I want to exercise twice a week. And I have some, for example, I know next Monday I can't go to my exercise class because I have meetings, ditto the 11th. And so I've pushed it back to later days during the week when I know I can go to that class. So that was sort of how I set up the week. Then morning, I actually have dropped my reflection. So morning and evening reflection for like my bullet journal, because I do that as I'm setting it up. And so I just took that off my tracker. But I've added in meditate and breathe, because I usually do the breathe in the morning because I tend to have less time. And so it kind of helps me wake up, and it gives me some like kind of centering, but it's just not as long as doing an actual meditation session. But the rest of this is the same. Then in the evening, I again have added meditate, and because I finished my 100 days challenge for flossing my teeth, not flossing the dance, I finished that in mid-February, and I actually have kept doing it every single day, and my goal is to just keep, you know, flossing every single day. I know this is like basic adulting 101, but like we're working on it. So I was kind of annoyed at the end of February, once I had finished that challenge, that I no longer had a way to track whether or not I was flossing every day. And I actually did, I just didn't have a place to put it. So I've added a line in my tracker, done. Then I have my skincare stuff, same as always. I have my skincare legend. I have my other legend, which actually you guys will see. I have B, and B here, but it's gonna depend on which line it goes in, which one it actually is. So like based on what this category is, I'm gonna know what that B stands for, but I did repeat some letters a couple of times. So I have another review space, and again, my reading tracker goal, 5 books. So we'll see how that goes. I've got my gratitude, so I still have to do my gratitude for today, and you guys know I have to still work on my brain dump. So that is my normal setup. I honestly just changed a couple of things in my tracker, but everything else is basically the same. I did go ahead and set up my first header, because I'm not doing weeklies anymore, but I did set up my first like weekly header, and then I've set up for Monday, I do have the setup, so I know which order I want to actually do my, like use the colors. So again, you know, I'm going to switch and do, so this week I'm doing the date in copper and the week in blue, and the day in blue and the date in copper, and so then the following week I'll switch it. So that is my March setup in my bullet journal. Let's go ahead and take a look at my Projo. So in my Projo, let's go ahead and skip. So next page, here we go. So in my Projo, I have not set up a ton of stuff. So because I do have a monthly log in my bullet journal, I tend to only put down when I work on things related to my projects. I try to. It doesn't always work, but I try to. So I actually don't have, for example, when I go to work over here, because I already have that in my bullet journal. I don't need that. So this is just going to be very much a log. I have added a column for YouTube. So previously I was doing just a little thing and checking it off. Yes, I did actually post it. But what I decided to do is to have sort of at a glance, because I do have my editorial calendar in my bullet journal, but to look at a glance, what videos am I planning to upload on which Sundays. So I have just penciled in, so for example, this Sunday I wanna upload my March Plan with Me-ish video, so this video, and then, you know, I've got the other ones, and I've done them in pencil in case things change, because a lot of times they do, that's just kind of the way it goes. But that's basically the setup for my monthly log for the time being. So it'll fill in more, but there's not a lot of pre-setup that I do for this one. I spend a lot more time working on my key projects. So for March, my plan is to work on font stuff. I would like to watch more of, whether or not I finish the full class, I don't know, but watch more of the Illustrator class on Skillshare. I want to prep my letters for my first font, and possibly, depending on if I have time, I'm not actually sure, start a Photoshop class on Skillshare just to kind of start learning how to use that. In terms of the font making process, I actually don't have to do a lot in Photoshop, and I could even skip that step if I want, which is why it's kind of a question mark. If I decide that I, you know, get on the roll doing something else and don't have time to do that class, I'm not mad about that. I have other things that I could be doing instead, but I just wrote it down as sort of an idea. Then I have admin. Again, I need to catch up on a bunch of stuff. So I have all the stuff that I couldn't do in January or in February because I was waiting on this one piece of information. I have a couple of like medical things I have to start working on. So I've got those in there. And then also YouTube backlog, because I had done a really good YouTube backlog. I had like 5 videos that were just ready to go, but I got sick and I moved, and so I didn't have time to film more new videos so that I didn't completely deplete the backlog. So I want to work on getting that sort of back up so I have more videos that are just ready to go, so if things get crazy again, I'm not without videos. And I also want to work a little bit on my website because I don't do very much on there. We need to work on that. And then here are a couple of other little things. So I'm gonna go to Seattle in April, and I need to get a hotel in Paris for the night before my flight because my flight is at 10, and from where I live, I physically can't get there like the same morning. I need to stay in Paris the night before. I need to work on Happy Meal. I'm super behind, and this was actually another thing for my website that was something I had hoped to do in February that I didn't do, so I just wrote it over here. Then I've also got my work stuff. So it's essentially the same setup. So grading, next up. So any items that I have to grade. This is related to submitting grades. So we have to do comments for the interim reports and for the final grade reports. So I just finished the comments for the second trimester final grades. I do still have to do ones as I'm a head teacher, so like a homeroom teacher, so I have to do sort of generalized comments for my class. I still have to do those. But then we have our interim grades that are going to be due in the beginning of April. So I want to start planning on that and working on that in March so I don't have to cram everything at the end. So that's why that's up here. And then I've got, for my next step, I have planning the final task and planning the next unit. I forgot to do the little square right there. We'll work on that later. And I need to work on seeing if I can take my class on a field trip. We'll see how it goes. So this is basically just work stuff. This helps me have sort of a generalized overview so I'm not recopying it week to week, because a lot of times it takes me longer than a couple of weeks to do it. It takes me the whole month. Then reflection we're gonna work on later. So let's jump into, so I showed you guys the weekly setup. My goal for next week is I need to work on grades. I need to work on grading assignments. So that's definitely going to be one of the key projects that I work on, but I need to kind of see by the end of this week how things have kind of panned out. So I will be setting this up later. But typically what I do is I will set up my weekly in here, and then based on what I've got in here, I decide which tasks I want to do for my weekly, for my daily, and that's what I set up here. Say, okay, today this is what I'm going to focus on. If I happen to finish all of this stuff and I still have more time, then I always can come back in here and see what else I have on my weekly that I need to work on. So that is March. I hope that that was clear. I apologize that I couldn't give you guys a time lapse, but it just was one of those months. I'm really excited to see how March goes with all the changes. I mean, little changes to be sure, but with the changes that I realized I needed to make in February, I'm curious to see how March goes with all of those changes and whether I've, made the changes that I need to make, or if I'm gonna have to make more in the future, which not a big deal if I do. So yeah, if you guys have any comments or questions about the setup that I have or anything like that, please leave them down in the comments section. So I know I never really mentioned this, but I'm sure you guys have realized that I try to link as much of the stuff that I use in here. So for example, the color of Tombow pen that I use and all that, I do try and link down in the description box, or any products or people I talk about and all of that kind of stuff. So if there's anything that you're curious about, just definitely check out the description box down below. I will say that this is Tombow color. It's hold on a sec. So it is 526, and this is actually the same color code color that I use for my work stuff, and I just decided to use it for March as well. So that is all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys liked this sort of adapted plan with me for March, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye. Hey guys, so if you've made it all the way to the end of this video and are actually watching my end screen and you're not subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate it if you would. There's a little button right there for you to do it. And if you're interested in watching some more of my videos, I have links to 2 of my older videos off to the left there, so you can check those out if you would like to, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.